Reverend Peter Panagore, and I live in Maine. And in 1980, I had my first near-death experience. I was 21 years old. I was living in Bozeman, Montana, as an exchange student at Montana State University. In the springtime, during spring break, I wanted not to go back to Boston, where I'm from, Boston, Massachusetts. I wanted to go on an adventure. And so I found an adventure to go on, and it was in British Columbia and Alberta. Now we're stuck on the cliff and we're in trouble. Immediately, hypothermia begins, which my brain had become fogged by cold. I lost a lot of my capacity for reasoning, for thinking things through. I began to make poor decisions through the night. I keep pulling on it. There's no way I can get it loose. There's nothing we can do. And at that point, peace settled over me, and this drive for survival evaporated. And so did my fear. It just all went away. I came to this realization that there was no way out of this. I was going to die here. And so I started looking around at this great beauty and the bazillions of stars in the sky, all these different colors and sizes. It is an extraordinarily beautiful sky. And I could see, there was so much light that I could see the mountains across the river. And I could hear the river all night, the rippling of the river as it flowed down. And so there's this soundtrack, and I started listening to the river. I started listening to the river as I was feeling my way into this imminent death. And then I began to fall asleep. And I had this peripheral vision. My vision became a tunnel. And there was this big black circle around my vision that I had never seen before. Maybe out, put your arms out, extend out, this blackness is at your fingertips. But it's this big dark circle. And this dark circle starts to close very rapidly. And I started looking around, and everything got narrower and narrower and narrower until I was looking right at the mountain, and as it went like this to darkness, I thought to myself, I must be falling asleep again, but I'd never seen anything like it. And as it went to nothing, I didn't fall asleep. And I was surprised. Why am I not asleep? What? And now I'm not in pain. And I was wondering, well, where am I? What is this? It was the mountain in front. Am I lying down? I don't know. I'm sort of floating. And in front of me, where the mountain had been, there was like a barrier. There was a barrier, and then there was this incredibly deep and dark, distant void. And this void was all darkness. And as I stared into this darkness, as if it had been that curtain falling, as I stared into this darkness, way far in the distance, a galaxy away, 10 galaxies away. Imagine no stars in the sky. It's just completely black. And then suddenly, 100 billion light years away, a pinprick of light appeared. One pinprick of light that illuminated the whole scene. I am now inside of this entity, and I know this entity. This entity is not unknown to me. I am not afraid. I have no fear at all. I know this being, and it is ginormous. It's so huge compared to me, and I'm inside of it. It was like being on a cloud bed, but the cloud bed surrounded me, and I had no agency. I had no power to move my body, and I had a body, but my body was not physical. I could see my body. My body was energetic. It was made of light. These are all metaphors. I can't tell you exactly what it was because there's no language for this, but I still had a shape, and my shape was more or less human. But I wasn't me anymore, and I had no brain anymore. I was this energy being who I knew I was inside this much larger light being, speaking to me as I was inside it, speaking comfort and welcome and power and intelligence. It was showing its intelligence. It was showing its power to me. It's showing its comfort to me. And I'm inside of this, and I can see through it into the void. I am superpositioned. I am inside this entity, feeling only comfort, only well-being, and I am also outside. I am outside, seeing myself inside, seeing this angelic form, traveling along a parallel route. I have like an eyeball out there, but I have no location out there. I don't even have a light body. I am just seeing this with no locus. And as I was traveling up inside of this entity, we reached back to the point where it had first emerged from wherever it had come from into this darkness. And it maybe it opened itself, or our eye popped out of it, or I'm not really sure exactly what happened. All I know is that it suddenly, I was inside a different darkness. And as I am there, suddenly there's an opening in the darkness, and the darkness opens into a brilliant light. It's like a ripping or a door opening or a waterfall suddenly turning on. There's this light energy, and this light energy is ginormous. I am ginormous. I am 10,000 times bigger than a human being. And this dwarfed me, and the infinite space I was in dwarfed it. But this light, this flow, it was like a pearlescent illumination where every color that I had seen in the night sky and all the different sizes of the stars, that's what amazed me up there. And so far from the light pollution on a super dark night, I could see the size difference with my naked eye of the suns, of the stars, and their colors were so many colors I had never seen before. And on this pearlescent flow, all of that, individual colors of light that I had never seen before, but all colors, like millions of colors that X-rays and infrared and ultraviolet and all of these permutations of the electromagnetic energy, but not electromagnetic energy, so much more than that. So many more colors, so much more energy. And there was this flow to it. And it was the most beautiful, attractive, seductive, desirous that I had ever encountered. It called to me. And as it called to me, I went to it. And as I went to it, I wanted it. And I could see its surface, like this flowing surface. I could see its depth, and I could see through it. So it was like solid and translucent and transparent all at the same time, simultaneously. And as I looked through it, there was this deeper, darker tunnel. I'm inside this entity, and it's inside of me, and it shows me myself. It shows me my human self. I see my entire life. I have a life review, and it's not like I'm watching a movie sitting in the theater. I'm experiencing all of the pain that I ever gave away in my life, and I judged myself as guilty for having caused all of this pain to all of these people for my tiny, tiny reasons. Because also it was showing me love. It was showing me this divine infinity, this purity, this unlimitedness, this unmanifestedness, this thing that is so far beyond my soulful comprehension of it without even my brain. I still couldn't understand the depth of its love. And as it showed me myself, I describe it as a hell, but I also describe it as a divine fire of purgative love, because it was a cleansing for me. I was cleansed. All of the chaff was burned off of my wheat. I was cleansed to the core of my being, and I had nothing left of me except my original self. And as I judged myself guilty, as my sins came down on me, as my karma came down on me, I listened to the love that was being spoken to me. And as I heard the love being spoken to me, I saw all of humanity's brokenness. I saw this radical equality of my brokenness as a human being being the same as everyone else's brokenness. And that it wasn't one morality above another morality. It wasn't I'm better than another person because I didn't do that thing that I think you did that's heinous in my mind. In comparison to infinity, it was like standing on the moon. and looking at the earth and seeing a smooth ball instead of being on the earth and seeing the mountain peaks and the valleys. From where I was, there was only one comparison, and it wasn't to humanity. It was to the divine infinity, and everything else was less than. And so it created in me an understanding of my own limitedness. And as I saw my limitedness in the sort of being in the a created being in the matrix of the universe that we live inside of materialism, of material and photons and muons and molecules and stars as human beings, I saw that all of that was constructed. I understood the created nature of creation. In the moment I wanted to understand how everything was put together, I could see how the universe was made. And my brokenness as a little tiny human being was no different than all of the limitation that made the universe exist. No limitation, no universe. In comparison to the unlimited purity of all there was, the whole universe is a shattered place, me included. And as I saw this, as I was shown this, I understood that it was not me that sinned. Yes, I made those choices. Yes, I hurt those people, and that hurt was real, and I carried it with me, and I wasn't allowed to bring it with me into the divine place. There was no room for anything that remained of the material world. I didn't make the universe. I was just a part of it. And the divine love was speaking to me forgiveness and mercy and welcome and healing and wholeness and peace and bliss and awe and understanding and knowledge. And as I listened through the ear of my heart to the love that was being spoken, all of this forgiveness that had always been there waiting, always present. It wasn't newly on the table. It's the divine being itself. So I see inside myself. I'm back to this capacity of looking back into my most recent human life, and I say, "Is this death? Am I dead?" And the voice says to me, "Yes, you're dead. This is death." And I say, because I can see the pain of my parents behind me, I say, "But my parents, they're going to lose me." So I have now a resurgence of my last thoughts as a human being, thinking of my parents losing me. And I still have this part of me. And I say, "Do I have to stay?" And the voice says, "Your time is now. Come home." I said, "But my parents are suffering." And it took me, and I say this with language, but there's no language here. There's no words. I am swept across. It's like it takes a hand and it sweeps me across itself, like across the universe, but it's inside itself, to the edge of itself, of this vast, vast darkness at a speed I can't tell you. I just can't tell you how fast. And I get to the edge of this heaven that I'm inside of, and my consciousness is pushed outside of this heaven. Some percentage of me, 10% of me, 90% of me still inside the divine, but this 10% that's now outside the heaven, I'm in our universe, and I can see all of our universe. I can see all of the galaxies. And there's huge space between them, and my attention is brought back to, in time, in universal time, back to the origin of the universe. And I see the universe in its origin, but it's not at the Big Bang. It's as it's being manifested. I see its constant manifestation. And there's a point at which I cannot see beyond. And it was at this point where the infinite in itself begins, that there's this outpouring of love. And this love of it, which is itself, which is inexpressible to me. I can't tell you. It pervades everything that is. The whole universe is pouring out, woven inside of this love. and this love is woven inside of it. And it's not just our universe pouring out. It's universe after universe after universe. It's all of these constant unfoldings, hundreds of them, thousands of them, just love unfolding into all of these presences of the divine self manifested into limited form, unlimited becoming limited, universe after universe after universe, and it's all love. I see Earth, and I see, like a hologram, I see 7 billion people all at once. And I can look in on them and see individuals, but I see them all together too. And inside of every single one of them is this golden fleck of light, like gold dust of light, like a speck of golden light. And nobody can see it in anybody else. I can see it from where I am. And the whole world, the whole earth is covered with this foam that's like a fog through which they can't see the light. And I see wars, I see births, I see murders, I see crime, I see love, I see babies being born, I see mundane, I see all the human things in real time of while I'm dead, I see these living human beings, and every one of them is as beloved as me. I am the most beloved, and so is everyone else. And there is no paradox in this. There is only the divine self. And I understand my eternal welcome, that I am always welcomed, and that everyone is always welcomed, and that everyone is always made of this divine love. At the core of our beings, there is no separation from the oneness of being. All go home because there is nowhere else to go. And the voice says to me, so now you know you don't have to go back, because now you understand timelessness and time. And in a moment, they'll be through their life and here, back with me again, back in this joy and this light and this welcome and this wholeness where there is no suffering. So you don't have to go back, but you get to choose. And now I understand the own temporality of my own human life. Snap of a finger. Live, die. Snap in between. I say, I choose to live my life. And it says to me, you won't live your life. And snaps me off its fingertip and shoots me back across this heaven, and this heaven gets denser and denser and denser, and I become more and more material, and it's escorting me. It's the angelic form of the divine escorting me, carrying me back. And as I go, I get thicker and thicker and thicker, and in front of me there's a million doorways. And all these doorways are set up like petals on a flower, and they're just petal and petal and petal, and all of them are doorways. And in the center of this flower is divine light. And these doorways, they have surface to them, but this divine light, it comes from behind me. It's like this power that comes from this heaven behind me, and it comes into the center of the flower, and it radiates out into decreasing light to the furthest edges. And it is the power of their existence. And the voice says to me inside of me, choose light, choose. And it shows me itself, but I have choice, and I'm denser and denser, more and more. I'm back in my light body again, and I'm back in my light body again with this sort of humanoid form, and I see all of these doors, and I see the light, and I want the light. The light is all I want, but I want some humanness. And now I'm dense again, and I'm out on the other side of this tunnel, and I'm at my body, and I see my body. I see my body. I'm suddenly up close to my body, and I see my body, and I'm sort of half off the cliff, harnessed in, and I see this angelic form tears a hole in my chest like a rip and pulls it open, and I'm watching this happen, and I still can see behind me. I can see the divine behind me, but it's much duller now and quieter now and not as present to me now. And then I felt like I was being screwed into my body, very painfully, very slowly, screwed into this hole. Like I didn't quite fit. I was still too big, and I had to be shoved and condensed even further to fit inside this teeny tiny thing. And I'm inside this teeny tiny thing, and I see my hole. I see the hole in my heart, and I'm looking out, and it closes. And as it closes, now I'm imprisoned. I'm imprisoned. And as I'm imprisoned, I feel trapped. And I feel my brain come back online, like it feels like a whirring up, like an kind of coming up to speed, coming up to speed, coming up to speed. And as it comes up to speed, all I feel is pain. And as my brain comes back online, I begin to hear, and I hear sounds, and I don't know what it is, and they resolve as my brain comes stronger and stronger. They resolve into a voice, and the voice is screaming and it's shouting, and I hear words, and the words are, don't die, don't die, don't, you can't be dead, don't die, come back, don't die. And it's screaming and it's crying and it's yelling and harsh tones. And I open my eyes, and I see, now I see a body, and I see an arm reaching down to me, and fear on this face, and I see, but I don't know who this is. And now it's like, you're alive, you were dead. And he's pulling me up, he's yanking me up. You were dead, I thought you were dead, I thought you were dead. And he's crying, and I'm like, what is going on here? Why am I in pain? Where was I? Who am I? What am I? Where was I? What is this place? I have no idea what's going on. And my brain continues to come back and come back, and I begin to remember, oh, I'm on a mountainside. Oh, this is Tim. I've been ice climbing. I died, but where was I? Where had I gone? I had been somewhere, but my brain couldn't grasp it. I no longer had the understanding that I had on the other side, but I knew that I was entirely different, because now the world physically looked different to me. I could see Tim as a human being. I could see the rock in front of me. I could see myself as a human being, but it was flat, two-dimensional, black and white, flickering, broken, less than. And through it all, there was this immediate perception of light also. So in Tim, in the darkness, there was all this light, but the light was hidden underneath this darkness. But I could see it, and it made the darkness look thin and weak and ugly to me. Only the light had beauty to me. And Tim said, pull the rope, because this time I think I had fallen further off the cliff, because I saw my body dangling a little, and I pull myself back up. I pull on the rope. I'm standing up by this point. I pull on the rope because he tells me to, and the rope comes free, and I pull it down, and he helps me pull it, and we put it through one of the ring. He puts it through his ring. He clips into it. He descends down to the bottom. I follow him down. We pop open the tent. We treat ourselves for hypothermia, and then I'm a different person. I'm in a new world, and I don't know who I am anymore. And he's treating me as if I had been this other person, but I wasn't anymore. I didn't know who I was. And then my life completely changed. I live as a born-again person. It has an entirely different meaning to me now. And so the primary change in my life was that I no longer had an external pursuit. I had an internal pursuit, and a desire for my beloved, for whom I was bereft. They say that separation makes the heart grow fonder. I was desperate for this, because this was the only reality that was real to me. This place here was not.